Hello and welcome to Don't Bury the Lead. We recap WWE Smackdown every Friday night after the bell. My name's John Zindel. I'm joined by Dom Scarcella. Dom, go ahead and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
John, I acknowledge you. And I also acknowledge Don't Bury the Lead. So without further ado, what's our top story for SmackDown for June 28th, 2024?
Dom, we don't ever bury the lead on this channel. We get right to the top story. And the top story, which you're going to see in the thumbnail, is Paul Heyman booted out of the bloodline in a ceremony at the end of SmackDown in an interesting main event. We had Solo Sikoa, Tama Tonga, the rest of the bloodline in there, or this new form of the bloodline. And Jacob Fatu was kind of getting initiated, if you will. And part of the initiation, Solo Sikoa asks to be acknowledged by Paul Heyman, and he looks disheveled and out of it and really pasty, and his beard is all grown out. Kind of looks a little bit like disheveled, a little bit like Joe Biden last night, where he looked like death. But yeah, so eventually, he says, "I don't acknowledge you," and the bloodline put a beating on him, which was pretty crazy to see an older guy that's not an active wrestler take some of the bumps that he was taking. Tom, what did you think of this main event?
Paul Heyman is turning babyface.
Right.
And with him, it looks like Roman Reigns is turning babyface. This will be very, very interesting when Roman Reigns is ready to return to the active roster.
Yeah.
And you were mentioning some of the details with Paul Heyman's appearance. The eyes looked bloodshot. He hadn't shaved in a few days. I wonder if he also didn't sleep in a few days. They're like, yeah, okay, we need you to look really disheveled for this, Paul. We want you to stay up all night for a couple of days, maybe take a nap. That's it. Don't shave. You got to look like, you got to look like hell.
Yeah.
And he comes out and he does, and then he starts taking bumps. And I'm thinking of, I don't know if this brought up back memories for you like this, but the way Bobby Heenan would take bumps as an older manager, because we don't see Paul Heyman do that a lot. And he didn't really have to flip and sell too much. He took a Samoan spike. He took a top turn headbutt from Jacob Fatu, and then the three, except for Solo, power bomb him through the announce table, and then he just rolls over to his stomach and just stays there pretty much motionless with his face in the floor mat.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool the way the crowd is behind. They're behind Paul Heyman now, and he did it so well. This long segment, which brackets the last commercial break of the night, starts with Paul Heyman talking on the mic, introducing things, and suddenly Solo cuts him off and sticks the hand out like he wants the microphone. And Paul Heyman's looking like, this was what we talked about, and takes a long time to hand him the microphone. And when he does, Solo starts doing the acknowledgement, but it's not just I acknowledge you, Solo. It's acknowledge me as the tribal chief. And that's where you could see Paul in the background off to one side getting nervous, because Tama Tonga acknowledges him as the tribal chief, and Tonga Loa acknowledges him as the tribal chief, and Jacob Fatu acknowledges him as the tribal chief. And then they take out this small black bag, and Jacob Fatu pulls out the necklace that we've seen Roman Reigns wear, and he gives it to Paul Heyman, and Solo wants Paul Heyman to put that necklace on him the way he did for Roman. And Paul says, Solo, I love you, but I do not acknowledge you as my tribal chief. Huge pop, and that's the end of it. And no one comes out to save Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
He's got no friends.
I thought that was interesting too. I figured there would be some sort of a save situation.
Nope, CM Punk's on Raw and he's injured anyway.
Right.
His Paul Heyman's only friend isn't there.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So it was something to see, and it was one of these things where seeing Paul Heyman go through the table, I was like, "Ooh." I was just like, "Man, just to see that older guy not in the best shape on the planet, kind of roly-poly, take that bump." It was like, "Ooh," but it was cool. And I like the fact that you never really see Heyman get his comeuppance, right? He does a lot
No.
of smack talk. He
Yep.
does a lot of like devious things constantly, but you never see him take any bumps. And tonight was the night where, he gets attacked and it looks brutal as a result.
It does. I want to bring up something else about the bloodline here.
Mm-hmm.
The bloodline has a way of doing babyface turns that are like the crowd is completely behind them.
Yeah.
Sami Zayn, when it was finally time for Sami Zayn to turn, the crowd went crazy in San Antonio at the end of Royal Rumble.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Right.
one of the loudest cheers I've ever heard from a live crowd anywhere. Like, and whatever. Sami Zayn finally hitting Roman with the chair, even though he got beat up. That was a huge face turn. Jey Uso looking at Jimmy and saying, "You out of the bloodline and I'm out too," and super kicking Roman. That was a huge pop. And even Paul Heyman
Mm-hmm.
getting a huge pop. And the bloodline is so good at this. They're so good at being the tough guy heels and the underhanded heels and the overbearing and domineering heels. That
Right.
when somebody finally turns, it's a real crowd pleaser. Like they play the long game with it, and when it finally happens, the crowd is behind. There was no tepid, lukewarm response tonight to Paul Heyman.
Yeah, and Heyman, probably a good place to do it, New York City.
Yeah,
I think
Madison Square Garden.
MSG, and because they're especially in Philly, but I know certain aspects of like the Northeast corridor because he's from New York, but he had ECW in Philly. Just being from the Philadelphia area like we are, he seems to get over as a face a little bit more in this area,
Yep.
rather than
Yep.
in different parts of the country.
Yep.
So it probably was a good spot, like good city to do it in. And then in addition to that, he's just so charismatic. He
Yes.
really is. And even like just his commitment to the character tonight.
Yep.
With the bloodshot eyes, like you had mentioned. How did he get his eyes bloodshot? Do you think he was like putting some weird drops in before he went out there? I don't know.
He's putting reverse eye drops
Yeah,
into his eyes,
Mhm. Yeah, and he's been like a blubbering mess for weeks now leading into this. Another thing that was really cool, I noticed, just a little detail that I liked, was after they put him through the table, Solo Sikoa's face looked like blank, like he had just made some sort of serious thing, almost like what you would see if someone murdered someone. They're like, "Oh, what did I just do?" You know what I mean? Like, I lost my cool. What just happened here? So he had
Okay.
a really good face there at the end.
All right. I didn't quite pick up that subtlety. I was too busy writing down that the crowd was chanting "F you Solo." They've been doing "We want Roman," and then by the end of it, it chanted to "F you Solo,"
Which is perfect. That's what you
right?
want.
Because now Solo Sikoa is getting heat. It's not people aren't just reacting to the absence of Roman Reigns; they're reacting to the presence of Solo Sikoa, and that can be a subtlety that's lost on people, but it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
You don't want people just booing because they don't see another guy. You want people booing because of who they see in the ring. So
Mhm.
this is Solo getting heat, not simply the heat of the crowd missing Roman being transferred to Solo. And maybe that sounds a little too analytical, but like if you've ever performed, you know the difference.
Oh yeah, for sure.
right?
It's not
And go
it's
ahead.
not it's not going to be one of these things where it's all because of Roman. Now it's because of Solo. So
Yep.
he could, pardon the pun, he could go solo without on his act and be over rather than rely on Roman Reigns for the pop.
So
So
really, this becomes what they called it, the bloodline acknowledgement ceremony. This was all the pieces coming together where it looks more like Solo Sikoa really is in charge and he's adversarial. He's no longer just holding down the fort until Roman is ready to come back or something. He's taking over,
mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
This is him really stepping out of Roman Reigns' shadow. And
Yes.
it's good to see the crowd, at least for one night in Madison Square Garden with the New York audience, getting behind that angle. So, as always, the bloodline is a long game. And so this is set up to be many months down the road, many pay-per-views down the road, many SmackDowns down the road to continue and maybe come to some sort of partial resolution whenever it does. So I like it. If you want to just go subtleties and details, you could talk for an hour about the bloodline. But to not jump the gun and do too much fantasy booking, I think I want to leave my take on this one just kind of where it is now. Like
Yep.
for what they gave us tonight, I thought it was cool, and I don't want to do too much. I don't want to do too much guessing and fantasy booking from this. I want to see how it plays out. I'm glad the crowd was behind it. I'm glad everybody did their role wonderfully tonight,
Yeah.
and including getting the audience to buy into it.
Yeah, and that's the lead, folks. So that's the main event. That's Don't Bury the Lead. That's the lead of the night. Dom, we had some other stuff happening on the show. You want to take us into the match or segment you'd like to talk about?
Well, we only got 3 matches tonight because there was a Bloodline segment at the beginning and then this longer Bloodline segment at the end. The beginning one only was a tease for their Money in the Bank match. So I just might as well just mention that since it was a Bloodline kind of bookending this SmackDown. Solo Sikoa, Tamatanga, and Tangaloa arrive without Jacob Fatu. And they have a little talk with Paul Heyman, and they're walking to the ring to conduct some business. And that's when they show on the big board that Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens have arrived. And they have a sort of a mini brawl on the entranceway. Then it goes into the ring. They take a commercial break. The baby faces are still in there. They take out all the security that Nick Aldis sent down there. And then finally Nick Aldis goes to the back. And after the promos are done, he returns with, the NYPD to escort the baby faces out of the ring, which I want to see if you caught the same callback that I did. Heading into, I think, the first WrestleMania, a huge sell for that was that they were in New York City and Rowdy Roddy Piper had to get escorted from the ring by the NYPD. And of course, Piper was a heel and he was fighting it the whole way. But you can't show New York City cops escorting people to the ring out of Madison Square Garden without getting me to think of Roddy Piper.
Right.
So that was a neat little callback there. It's a very unbaby face move. The baby face is just beating up security, then jawing with the NYPD and getting escorted out.
Right.
Not a real. I mean, I don't want to get political. I'm no fan of cops, but that's not a babyface move.
No.
So it was weird.
Yeah, beating up anyone that's not a wrestler is always a little like, oh,
That's heel.
that's heel for sure. We saw Solo Sikoa do it tonight with Paul Heyman.
Yes.
That's definitely a heel move for sure.
That's a heel move, So that was a little weird, but they are like Money in the Bank premium live event, the pay-per-view from Toronto, 8 days from tonight's SmackDown. It looks like a pretty cool card, even without a lot of title belts on the line. Like they've gotten Cody Rhodes into a 6-man tag against the Bloodline with Randy Orton and Kevin Owens. Of course, the 2 Money in the Bank matches are there. So they're doing a good job of setting up money. It's the complete opposite of what we just saw, where there were title belts all over the place at Clash of the Castle.
Yeah.
Like they're
Right.
doing Money in the Bank without title belts, and it looks like it's going to work. So a good selling point for that thing. Although it's just weird when obvious baby faces do kind of heel things. Maybe it's a little bit more of trying to make Cody Rhodes kind of a tougher edge baby face.
Yeah, that might be part of it because he's been a really nice guy, right?
He's been a little too vanilla.
He's been very vanilla in his run here.
He's been the corporate pitch man too much.
Yes, he's been
talking
about how great WWE is.
Right, we want a babyface champ who leans more toward the Stone Cold Steve Austin end of the spectrum than the John Cena end of the spectrum as baby faces, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
So
it seems like a real person, not. Although I guess John Cena was being a real person, like that was an extension of his personality. He's just a strange man.
There are lots of ass kissers in the real world. They exist.
Yeah, right.
Right. There are corporate yes men and yes women. They exist. So that was just something to bookend to talk about that also involved the bloodline. But my match of the night, we only got 3 matches tonight. None of them were squashes, though. All 3 were Money in the Bank qualifiers. I think match of the night was the one that went over the hour changeover there. It started at 8:58 here in southern New Jersey. SmackDown runs from 8 to 10 for us. So at 8:58, that means it's going over that switch of the hour there. This was LA Knight versus Logan Paul versus Santos Escobar, and it wound up involving a couple of NBA stars.
Yes.
Tyrese Halliburton of the Indianapolis Pacers and Jalen Brunson of the hometown New York Knicks.
Man, they had a lot of heat, didn't they?
They did. They brought in everybody for this one. This was something else. But in the end, we get a clean finish. LA Knight reversing a roll up onto Logan Paul for the pinfall.
Right.
There's some post-match stuff that gets into this. Tyrese Halliburton tries to get involved before the finish. What do you want to talk about in this match? Because I thought it was a pretty entertaining, even without the stuff at the end. I thought these 3 guys worked pretty well together. I thought it was a good, well-timed match with sequences. There was only one sequence that I thought looked a little too hokey because it was just taking too long to set up. That was LA Knight fireman's carry and climbing up to the second turnbuckle with Santos Escobar.
Yeah,
and eventually Santos Hurricane Ranas him off of that.
That
one looked a little slow developing. Everything else looked really crisp.
It looked like he was going to drop him, and he was barely holding him up. I was like, it looked almost. They did a good job recovering because it looked like it was almost a nightmare when he had him up there, and I was like, what are they going for here? And then he hits the Hurricane Rana. I mean, they got to where they had to get, but it was a little sloppy. But I have to say, whoever the Pacers guy was,
Tyrese
317 instead of 316, 317. Yes. I liked it. I thought he was really good, actually. And I feel like the NBA stars got a little bit more heat than the wrestlers. The crowd really popped for, but you figure Brunson's been a pretty popular player for the Knicks. They're relevant now. They play in that stadium. It'd be like the Jason Kelce thing in Philadelphia, like big star, Although
WrestleMania,
yeah, but Kelsey's probably a bigger star than Brunson. But I think ultimately that was effective to have them out there.
Well, Logan Paul's introduction of Tyrese Halliburton drew a lot of heat too. He said that, I thought I'd bring someone out who knows something about winning here in Madison Square Garden.
I don't mind a little cheap heat like that.
That's cheap heat. That is cheap heat. I love it, right? And he brings out an Indianapolis Pacers star because they won, what was it, Game 7 in Madison Square Garden this year during the playoffs to knock the Knicks out of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, it was all relative, and what a good sport for this Tyrese guy to go into Madison Square Garden, be the heel, be aside Logan Paul, And
And
both.
Jalen Brunson too. Like he got shown on camera before this match, and then they jawed a little bit. The two NBA guys before the match because Jalen's sitting front row and Tyrese is ringside. So they jaw a little bit. Jalen Brunson eventually jumps the barricade when Tyrese Halliburton gets the brass knuckles and is teasing giving them to Logan Paul. That's when Brunson jumps the barricade and gets into it and starts telling the ref, "Hey, watch him. He's got brass knuckles." He's trying to be the spoiler. And it works because the brass knuckles never get to Logan Paul. And then back in the ring, Santos Escobar creams Logan Paul in the corner, tries to meteor LA Knight. LA Knight sidesteps it. Then BFT Santos. Logan Paul breaks it up and rolls up LA Knight, who reverses the roll up, maybe grabs the tights a little and gets the pinfall there. Right. So like Logan Paul had grabbed the tights as well on LA Knight during that roll up. So LA Knight did a little turnabout as fair play, quite literally turned him on the roll up.
Right.
And then got the pinfall. So LA Knight, who's been dogging Logan Paul for a while, winds up pinning Logan Paul in this qualifier.
I love the finish from my perspective because
yes,
just a roll up. I'm liking because we saw that twice tonight. Yep. And I'm really liking the fact that we don't have to do finisher pin. Like that was always the formula was finisher pinfall, right?
Yep.
Finisher, and then the pay-per-view is like, oh, they kick out of the finisher. You have to get two.
Yeah. It's the 5 moves of doom, right?
And now it's like, oh, it can happen at any time. Yeah. So the crowd pops for all the pins more because the pinfalls can come in different ways.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, cool. Perfect.
That's a sneaky good way that pro wrestling used to do it. Because, I think back to how many guys won, world titles on reversing something or roll-ups. And it used to happen in WWE occasionally as well. But it seems like you're saying it got stale for a while there where everything was just, his finishing sequence. Yeah. And now it's going to happen. And I think the WWE maybe for a while, and maybe other promotions also did it. I wasn't as keen on some of the others doing it as well. But, it becomes, and as Jim Cornette would say, lazy booking.
Right.
It's just, bring the crowd along for the thing that's so predictable. But now there's less predictability to it, and it makes the guys be, I think in some ways, better athletes and better old-time pro wrestlers who know how to wrestle defensively. Because the thing about a lot of these finishes is they come off of defensive wrestling.
Yes.
Right. It's a reversal. It's a roll-up. It's surprising a guy rather than just, one guy just sitting there and just selling and taking some guy's 4 moves in a row or whatever. So I think it forces the wrestlers to be better wrestlers.
Yeah.
And I like that. You and I both, we like the in-ring action. You've been an amateur wrestler. You've been a pro wrestler in an indie promotion around here. So I mean, you appreciate that too, right? I mean, you didn't just do the same finish every time.
Yes. No, it's true. Like just doing that same one move can get a little stale, especially when they're wrestling every week. You really need to see some variety. So I'm glad that they're mixing it up. Anything else from this match?
I don't think so. I mean, the guys just work so well together. Did you have a spot you wanted to call out, or maybe take issue with me calling it match of the night? There were only 3.
I think it was match of the night. Did you have any bad feedback during the match where the TV was cutting out at all for you?
That happened maybe half a dozen times during SmackDown.
Yeah, I had
a couple times sound cut out, and I thought maybe that was on purpose because the crowd was saying a naughty word.
Right.
So that may have happened there. But there were a couple times where I lost audio and video, but I watch it online. So I'm streaming online from Fox's website, and the picture would still stay up, and the little, the timer would still be there still. So I know I didn't lose the feed.
It wasn't you. Yeah, it wasn't your like Wi-Fi or anything like that. It was definitely this match specifically. I missed so much of it because it just was blanking out. So That's
He
kind
didn't
of
lose too much.
yeah.
Did you see the leap to the top turnbuckle by LA Knight and then belly to back suplexing Santos Escobar?
Yes.
And then Logan Paul, who had been up on the turnbuckle, looked like Santos was trying to Hurricane Rana
Mhm.
Logan
I
Paul
like
off the
that.
top.
I like that move Logan Paul does, which is a botch that I did years ago, where I knocked my front tooth out. Basically, it's like he takes the power bomb and then instead of just finishing it, he goes all the way and smacks him. They do like a face bump. They go back.
Yeah, it's an inverted electric chair.
Yeah, inverted electric chair. Okay,
Yep,
yeah,
yep. So he drops the guy face first rather than back first. Yep. I
that's a
do remember you taking one of those. Yeah.
yes. Yeah, that was nasty. That was the worst bump I ever took. Just not to make it all about me, but
Sure, if you knock
I
the tooth out, yeah, man.
yeah, I earned it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had done it. I had never taken a power bomb before, so that probably wasn't the best bet to do it. But Killer Ken Fulgham picked me up and I jumped with him, and he whipped me so hard, and he just lost me on the way back on the transfer, kind of when he's supposed to bring me back down. He just
Mhm.
lost me, and I didn't have the knowledge at the time how to take a face bump. I do know now. It's kind of like the way I was taught is turn your head and kind of land on the side of your face at all times and
Okay.
keep your arms out like this. Um, but yeah, so anyways, it's a cool move that Logan Paul does, and
Yep. Especially when they plan it so nobody loses a tooth.
yes, yes, we don't need more. Yeah, the dentist isn't fun, right?
No.
So
Logan Paul did a good senton bomb on LA Knight and got a 2.5, like 2.5 count out of it. Looked great. And you almost thought, oh my goodness, he's going to pin him here. And LA Knight just kicked out of it. It's one of those few clean kickouts during a triple threat, because the thing about triple threats, it's always somebody else breaking up the pin.
yeah,
And that was the cool sequence there. Santos Escobar looked like he was trying to Hurricane Rana Logan Paul off the turnbuckles there. LA Knight got elbowed out of the way, then did the leap up to the top turnbuckle, which that's one of his signature moves. This time was really cool because Santos Escobar, two other guys were already on the top turnbuckle.
mhm.
So for LA Knight to leap up there, not bump either one of the other guys off, and then he winds up, instead of the standard superplex, he belly to back superplexes Santos Escobar off. Soon as LA Knight hits, Logan Paul recovers and hits that beautiful senton off the top turnbuckle. So it was a great looking sequence by all three guys. So, a well timed, crisp match. The things that you worry about in a triple threat are, is the timing going to be off, and are guys just going to look like they're just waiting around for like a three-way spot fest?
Yes,
And this wasn't it. The timing was there, the Christmas was there. There was enough things where all three wrestlers were involved, and enough things where two wrestlers got to square off and, hey, kick out fair and square on your own.
yeah.
So
And
I
then,
liked it. This was a good match.
and then we had another. Let's keep the ball moving
Two
here.
more triple threats. Which ones did you like best of the women's Money in the Bank qualifiers?
So maybe we can go to the triple threat with Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton, and who was the third?
Candice LeRae.
Yes, Candice LeRae. Okay. So Tiffany Stratton wins it.
Yep.
Oh, and it looks like they are strapping the rocket to Tiffany. She's getting lots of wins. She wins the qualifier to go to the Money in the Bank. We've spoken highly of her, and she seems to be on her way up.
They've attached her to Nia Jax as well. A big thing about this match is that when it looks like Tiffany is in trouble, let's see here. It was Candice and Tiffany get thrown to the floor by Jade Cargill, who recovers from an early double team. Nia Jax walks down to the ring, kind of to protect Tiffany Stratton. That's when Bianca Belair comes running out to confront Nia Jax, and they don't get into a fist fight or anything, but it's just like, oh, you're down here to be in Tiffany's corner. Okay, I'm here to be in Jade's corner then. And they do that. They go to opposite sides of the ring, and you've got the two tag team partners in a sense just watching the match. And I'm scratching my head going, where's Indy Hartwell?
Yeah.
Where is she to back up her tag team partner, Candice LeRae? And sure enough, that plays into the finish.
Mm-hmm.
Jade gets sent to the outside near where Nia Jax is. So Nia starts laughing and slowly walking over. This draws Bianca, of course. And now the two managers are yelling at each other. This distracts the ref. And wouldn't you know it, Indy Hartwell from the crowd takes a fallen Jade Cargill and throws her into the ring post. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've neutralized Jade. So back in the ring, Candice LeRae's playing possum on Tiffany Stratton and rolls her up, but only gets a 2 count. Tries her springboard moonsault. Tiffany gets the knees up and then hits her own top turn moonsault for the pinfall. So they did a good job of a few things here. Neutralizing Jade, who is obviously the stronger wrestler in the triple threat.
Right.
Not having Jade take the pinfall, getting heat with the Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill faction, and the Indy Hartwell Candice LeRae faction, which they teased for a tag team match next week. Keeping Nia Jax in the loop here. So that was all neat. And like you said, Tiffany Stratton gets the win and she's going to Money in the Bank.
Yeah. So I like this match. It was pretty good. What'd you think of Jade Cargill?
I like that she took the double team from the 2 wrestlers and didn't look invincible.
Yeah.
She's looking more like a real pro wrestler now, not like a Goldberg.
Yes.
You know, she's looking like what you're supposed to look like as a pro wrestler. You know, she's getting double teamed. She's selling. You know, she makes her comeback a little bit. It works, but then she gets beat down again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and at the end, a wrestler almost her size surprises her and throws her into the ring post. She sells it. And now she's out of commission long enough for the pinfall to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it makes sense. I like it. I like that we're seeing more from Jade. I know the announcers keep talking about, like, you know, Jade's been, you know, this great wrestler since she first showed up. She's been nothing but spectacular. And I'm like, that's their job. But no, for people watching, it's been obvious that they've been protecting Jade for a while, and maybe now some of the training wheels come off. What did you think of how Jade looked here?
She was okay. She's still a little awkward, and I think it's just gonna be that's just it. It is what it is at this point. She, like, there's some points where she's just like, there's just something about her where she just like stands there and looks around, and I'm like, you know, rather than kind of being in the moment, it just seems like she's looking for the next spot.
She's still too much athlete, not enough wrestler.
Yeah.
There's a difference. She's still too much athlete, not enough wrestler.
She's like, okay, we go here, we do this, okay. And then like it's like she's going to the next part of the story rather than like feeling it out, calling it out there. But you know, I don't want to bury her too much because you know,
it's progress. No, it's
progress.
not a burial.
No. It's definitely, like you said, it's a little progress here, and we are actively rooting for all of the wrestlers. So we're not going to be.
Yeah, Jade Cargill looks like a comic book character, and because of that, they had to put her on TV.
Yeah.
The thing was, she wasn't ready to be a wrestler like the other top women in WWE are real wrestlers.
Yeah.
So they have to find something to do with her where they can put her on TV and let her, you know, kind of do her indie wrestling work in the WWE on SmackDown and on pay-per-views. So she's making progress. Is it fair to say that she's making progress? She doesn't look like she did months ago. Does she? Or am I just, you know, looking at it with rose-colored glasses?
Tonight was a step up for her. And, you know, especially triple threats aren't easy. No. They really aren't. There's a lot going on. It's not a common match. Although actually it's getting a little bit more common, I feel like, in WWE, but it's not a very common match.
And they're getting better at it though, right?
Yeah.
They seem to be getting into and maybe it's just the wrestlers are getting more reps at it, but
Mhm.
you talked about a wrestler standing around waiting for something to happen. That can happen a lot in triple threats, can't it?
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
you're always there's so much built into the triple threat. Like, okay, the wrestler that you can't see is going to go do something to you now, and you almost have to kind of wait for it. So it is a tough match if your timing isn't really good.
Mhm.
But yes, I'm with you. I think the WWE does more triple threats, and I think they do them better than they
Yeah.
used to.
Well, speaking of triple threats, we got another one tonight.
We did.
And this is the last match of the night we're going to talk about. It's Indy Hartwell, Naomi, and someone I have never seen before.
First time seeing Blair Davenport. I did a double take myself. They've been teasing her in some backstage interviews.
Yes,
But I haven't seen her wrestle yet. Blair Davenport, yeah.
and Naomi wins this match somewhat predictably with Indy Hartwell in there, and there was no swerve here. Naomi wins it, and we get a call back kind of here from Jade coming back down the ramp from the match earlier. So I like how they connected that, and Jade interferes and basically helps Naomi to win.
Yep. Yeah, that was a cool callback. Now Indy Hartwell's involved in a Money in the Bank qualifier, and so it looks like Indy winds up flattening both of her opponents on the floor, and that's when she notices that Jade has walked down to ringside, and they square off. Jade throws her into the ring post, tit for tat there, right? That's what Indy had done to Jade earlier, but this time Jade throws Indy back into the ring, and feeds her to Naomi.
Right.
So that's the pinfall there, and hey, it works. Yeah, 10-minute match, and it sets up heat between these two tag teams, which is good. So good kicking the storyline forward, the angle forward. These rivalries and feuds, live to fight another day. There, I like it. Not a lot of great spots to talk about. Naomi still does that split-legged moonsault, which is basically a less powerful moonsault than if you were standing up there. It's like, how do you make the moonsault less impactful? Well, actually do it from half the distance. Broken up by Blair with the kick. Blair does not take the pinfall here. So it looks like they're not just feeding her up there as maybe an NXT call-up who's just going to take a few pinfalls for people. So they didn't make Blair take the pinfall here. So maybe that speaks to they want her to do more than just be, fresh meat for the more seasoned veterans.
I think it's pretty. This was a pretty good match, and I love the finish. It's another roll up. So I just like just a regular roll up. It wasn't like some sort of finisher.
Yeah, your opponent's been beaten down. You got a gift handed to you. Go for the pinfall.
Naomi seems a lot better in the time that she's been at TNA. I think she picked up some stuff, and she's come a long way.
Okay, you remember her from her previous round?
Yeah, it was like all gymnastic-y stuff, but now she's doing some cool, unique moves. And I think she's improved for sure in TNA.
Was she in a tag team with the former Sasha Banks?
No,
that wasn't them.
She was with someone though. Oh man, she was with I forget who it was. I'm completely blanking. We got some people here.
Tell us in the comments. Tell us in the chat if you're with us live. Who did Naomi tag with, and maybe also who was Sasha Banks tagging with in the WWE? Because I may be confusing wrestlers from a little bit before our time here on Don't Bury the Lead, watching SmackDown and WWE's product as a whole.
Yeah, let us know who is the person that was in Naomi's tag team at some point.
We don't have a third man in the booth here who's just on the computer looking up stuff for us.
Right. I don't have. Yeah, we don't have an intern yet.
We don't have an intern. We don't have a producer. We don't have a sidekick or anything. So.
And it always turns into a disaster if I would start to Google something and try to look it up and figure it out, and then before you know it, we're like 5 minutes in of dead air. So, you know, we
We don't
wanna
need that.
we don't need that. And Dom, eh
Anything else from this the show that you wanted to get to?
no, I think that's everything,
One
highlighted
more backstage thing that's worth mentioning because it looks like a longer term angle. DIY versus A-Town Down Under, the tag champs. Another interview, another attempted intervention by DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa to tell Austin Theory that Grayson Waller's not really your friend. And then that leads to a mini brawl when Grayson Waller jumps them from behind, and then they get out of there. And that's going to set up a tag title match, I believe, for next week's SmackDown before the Money in the Bank pay-per-view the next night. So another job of keeping some longer running feuds on people's minds. I think it's and again, I'm starting to notice more of the production work that you've pointed out.
Yeah, the backstage
Like
stuff.
some of the backstage stuff, some of the angles for these interviews, some of the settings where they're doing them. Things look good. This is a well-produced TV show.
Yeah, no, it's definitely an improvement, and it's a lot less like big bright lights, like big monitors all over the place. Like, remember they had that huge giant screen, and now they're just like, oh, it's just like a wrestling show. You don't need this giant screen.
Yeah, let them sell more tickets too, because now you don't have to, not sell the tickets behind your huge stage set.
Hmm.
So
And
it's smarter. It's a better show all around for the in person audience, and it looks great on TV. You can have just a normal sized entranceway and do a great job with it.
yep,
Camera angles, which they're doing a lot. They're shooting upwards from the floor towards the ceiling now a few times, and not just to catch the Money in the Bank briefcases, but sometimes just for that kind of an angle shot and just the grandness of it. So it's a well produced TV show. No complaints for the production value of what WWE is doing.
for sure.
They're a big time company. They got this down. A lot of skilled people.
All right, Dom. Well, that's SmackDown. So, is it drive time?
Is it? We keep talking about roads and everything, but what about just our own drive here? The thumb drive.
That's right.
This is where we distill this show down into a simple thumbs up or a thumbs down. There are no ties, no thumbs in the middle. There are also no star ratings, no letter grades, no number grades. You're taking this course, pass, fail.
Dom, we're not Dave Meltzer. We don't do star ratings. We don't do 7 stars in the Tokyo Dome. We don't do 2 stars on Sunday Night Heat. We don't do a half a star on WCW Nitro. No. We just say thumbs up, thumbs down. That's the only grading system we have here at Don't Bury the Lead. So, ready? What do we give this show? 3, 2, 1. Oh, 2 thumbs up.
I'll go barely. I don't usually like 3-match shows, but there were 3 pretty good matches. We got some LA Knight, and we did get some other brawling stuff that wasn't technically a match, which was good. I like it. And the stuff that was non-match, the main event. I think they took a good step forward with it. So I'm not going to complain. If this were every week, I was just getting 3 matches, I'd get tired of it after a while. But I can't find anything on this program where I say, nah, they botched that.
Yeah, no, for sure. From my perspective, the main event was killer. Just watching Heyman get the beat down that he got, getting put through the table, like so crazy to see, a kind of roly poly older man get thrown around and beat up like that. I really cringed when he went through the table. I was like, oh my God, that looked bad. So I think just the main event was strong enough, and the three matches gave it a pretty solid thumbs up here. So
Okay, as a guy who's taken bumps, I actually thought Heyman going through the announce table was better for him than actually getting power bombed all the way down to the floor or to in the mat.
for
I think when
sure.
you're getting triple team power bombed, first of all, they have you up there very securely. They're actually breaking your momentum on the way down because the other two guys are holding you. Like they're making believe that, oh, three guys are forcing him down. No, the two guys on the side are slowing down the descent.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're only going like 2 feet to the table rather than 5 feet to the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I thought this was as nice, as comfortable a power bomb as you can take.
Credit Repair says agree. Thank you,
Is that
Credit
agree on
Repair.
the thumbs up there for the thumb drive?
I think he just said it, so I'm assuming about the table bump.
Okay. Well, thank you, Credit Repair. Well, what say you, Bonsall Street Bomber, about bumps like that?
Yes, thank you, Credit Repair, and appreciate the chat. Keep them coming, guys, because we got a lot of people actually kind of piling in now. So don't
Very
be
good.
shy. Say what you think. But yeah,
And if you're watching this on recording, tell us in the comments. If you're watching us live on Twitch, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever else you're finding us live, thank you very much. The motherload of our content is over on YouTube. Look for Don't Bury the Lead Up Wrestling channel on YouTube.